start looking at your roster and you start talking about what you need and what you don't need. And you know what every roster needs?
The best player.
Awesome players.
Yeah, the best player in the draft.
Awesome players.
Yep.
You need awesome players.
Yep.
You will never, ever, ever regret drafting somebody who is awesome, regardless of what position they play.
Right.
Regardless of who else you have at that position. I don't think the Grizzlies would prioritize a point guard in the draft with a top 10 pick, given the presence of Ja Morant.
Mm-hmm.
But if they did, for whatever reason, evaluate to the point where they concluded the best prospect available to us is a point guard, if they took him and he turned out to be awesome, you would never regret it. You know what you would regret? Saying things like, well, we have to take a center because that's what we need. So I guess we'll take Donovan Clingan with the 4th pick in the draft.
Point.
And you go, is he really the 4th best prospect available in this draft? Well, I don't think so, but that's what we need. You miss on that, you'll regret that.
Yep.
But if you miss on just, if you miss, you'll regret it no matter what, right? But the logic behind the miss, I think, gets complicated.
Yep.
In the sense that if you go, okay, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, the Grizzlies are picking 4th in the draft. And it becomes clear, and I don't think this will be the case, but just play along. It becomes clear to them that a point guard is the best prospect available to them. And the best center prospect on their board is actually 8 spots lower.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to take a center with that pick instead of taking the point guard, that would be a mistake. You don't get locked into trying to fit a need in the top 5 or 10 of a draft, I don't think. Certainly not usually. I understand there are circumstances where you might lean one way or another as it pertains to position based on your roster makeup. I'm not speaking in absolutes here, but I think broadly speaking, if you reach a conclusion and an evaluation that Reed Sheppard is the best prospect in this draft or the second best or the best on the board when you're picking, I don't care what you think you need, what you don't need. If you believe it's that guy, I would take him. And I'm not unconvinced that he won't be the best player from this draft. I don't know that he will be. It's a draft. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But, buddy, there is a lot of statistical stuff there and a lot of other stuff there that will make this, if you pass on it and miss on it, it'll make you go, dude, what were you looking at? A little bit like Steph Curry. I'm not comparing him to Steph Curry, but I will say in this regard, it's a little similar. It's all there. You can see it. He's not big, but he is as big as Steph Curry. All right? Doesn't have those handles. But keep in mind, when Steph Curry was coming out of college, people weren't sure if he was a point guard.
That's right.
He didn't play point guard his freshman, sophomore year at Davidson.
Yep. If he was a point guard, he would have been drafted earlier. If people thought that, if they were sure about that.
People thought he was physically weak and a little shooter.
Yep.
They questioned his athleticism, questioned his physicality, and questioned whether he would ever be able to play on the ball consistently. That's how he slips in the draft.
Yes.
But then you see it, and you go back and watch the stuff at Davidson. Go back and watch his NCAA tournament run. Then go watch his Golden State Warriors highlights. It's the same stuff. But in the evaluation process, people got so caught up on what they thought he couldn't do as opposed to just looking at what's right in front of you, which is elite, generational shot-making ability and shot-creating ability. It's all there. You just have to see it and not get caught up on the other stuff. You know another example of this? Luka Doncic.
Yep.
Everything he's done
slow.
in the NBA was on tape. All of it. He did it.
Yep.
People just looked at it and said,
No, he's gonna be too slow.
Not athletic enough. Yep. Does he go this way and this way well enough? Hey, what are you focused on? Are you focused on what you think he can't do? Or are you just looking at the stuff that's so obviously elite? The misses sometimes in draft evaluations, prospect evaluation, it comes down to did you get too focused on stuff that shouldn't have mattered? Like, imagine if you were evaluating John Morant coming out of Murray State and you got really caught up on his body or his lack of focus and attention to detail on defense.
Yep.
Like, imagine if you got caught up on that stuff. You'd miss all the other stuff that's right in front of you.
Yep.
It's the classic
Or Chet.
can't see the forest for the trees stuff.
Yep.
Chet Holmgren. Imagine if you get caught up on, he just very skinny. What did I tell you even before that draft? I'm wrong about these guys just like everybody else is sometimes. But with Chet Holmgren, what did I say? And I want to be clear, this wasn't my idea. This is something I heard somebody else say, and it just stuck with me. Like, oh, like every once in a while you'll hear something and you go, okay, that makes sense to me. Heading into that draft, everybody was like, Chet Holmgren, man, he's just so skinny. Just so skinny. I had a draft evaluator say to me, GP, when's the last time you can remember a basketball player not reaching his potential, not being great? And the reason was he's just too skinny. Man, if he wasn't so skinny, he'd be great. Skinny people sometimes don't make it in the NBA, but it's never because they're too skinny. It's because they're just not good enough or they couldn't make shots or whatever. But it's rarely too skinny is the reason this person didn't make it. So why are people convinced Chet Holmgren won't make it because he's too skinny? Why are you focused on that, which isn't even a real thing in basketball, and not focused on all the other stuff that is so easy to see? Well, now here we are. He looks terrific, right? Focus on the stuff that's undeniable. Don't disregard the other stuff, but certainly don't let it overwhelm the stuff that's right in front of you. And with Reed Sheppard, I mean, I think he's actually hurt a little bit by the stereotypes that go along with being let's just say it, a basketball player who looks like you. He's a better athlete than you think. He can jump. He can guard his position. Yeah, I wish he's 6'5" instead of 6'3", and there's some questions about whether he's even 6'3", all right? But you're talking about a guy who's shooting 54% from the field, 53% from three, 83% from the free throw line. He's one of the best and most efficient players in the country. He just is only playing 29 minutes a game and coming off the bench for Kentucky because, I don't know. You'd have to ask John Calipari. I can't make sense of it. Most coaches I know start their best players. For some reason, John's got a guy who could maybe be the number one pick in the draft coming off his bench. You'd have to ask him. I can't explain it. But if the Grizzlies ended up with Reed Sheppard, like, I'm a believer in that guy. I'm a believer that he's going to work in the NBA. And if he doesn't, it'll just be because sometimes things don't work in the NBA. But if you're skeptical of him and he does pop, and you watch him in the NBA and he's just coming off of a ball screen pulling. He's in transition, pulling 6 feet before the three-point line. He's making a pass other people can't see. He's getting a steal other people can't get. If he gets in the NBA and he pops, he's doing all these things, it's all going to be stuff that was so clearly on film at Kentucky. He's doing all these things right now.
The Gary Parrish Show, live weekdays at 10 a.m.